Hi and welcome to this week's episode of Talking Fertility, where I will be coming to you live every Monday morning at 11 a.m. here in Melbourne, talking all things fertility. And this week I'll be talking about a topic which you have told me in the Conceive Baby with Tasha Jennings Facebook group that you want to hear more about, and that's fertility over 40. Because the reality is that most of us are waiting longer to start and expand our families, myself included. You know, most of us aren't having babies in our teens and 20s as biology intended. So what I'm going to talk to you today about is how you can help prolong your fertility and improve your chances of conceiving and carrying your healthy baby over 40. Because we hear a lot about age in relation to fertility. You know, our biological clock that's constantly ticking and ticking as we get louder and louder as we near our 40s. And yes, the unfortunate reality is that age does affect our fertility. We do have a natural decline in fertility as we age is a fact of life. And we can't turn back the clock. Our fertility naturally declines, and it has quite a decline around the age of 35 and then a steeper decline around the age of 40. And the decline in fertility is largely due to a lower egg reserve, so the number of eggs available, hormonal changes, as well as a decline in egg quality. So basically you have fewer eggs available and fewer viable eggs in that pool of eggs. So that's the bad news. But the good news and the important thing to focus on is that age is only one in many factors that affect your overall fertility and also your egg quality. So personally, I don't like to focus on things I can't change. I find that futile and frustrating. So what I like to do is focus on those many factors that you can change and you can positively influence to improve your fertility over 40. Because I find speaking to women, I find many women can get fixated on their AMH number, which is a test you may have had done yourself, which is basically a test of your egg reserve. So how many eggs that you have left in your egg pool. And I've spoken with many women who can get very upset about this number and fixated on this number. And yes, that your AMH number or your egg reserve is a number we can't change. You do have fewer eggs available. But in reality, for pregnancy, it only takes one. You can have a plentiful egg supply, but if those eggs aren't healthy and viable, then they're not capable of creating a baby. So the reality is we only need that one healthy egg. It's about quality, not about quantity. So instead of focusing on your age and your AMH, whatever that may be, your egg reserve, I focus on egg quality and getting to that one viable, healthy egg that does have the potential to become your future baby, and you can have a positive influence over the quality of that egg. Because yes, the egg quality does decline as we age. But as I said, there are so many factors that affect egg quality. It's not just about age. And by focusing on these factors and the factors you can improve, you can have healthier eggs into your 40s than someone who isn't as healthy in their 20s. So it's really about looking at those factors and what you can have a positive influence over. Because when we are talking about egg quality, we go back to the development of the egg. And I talked about this in another Talking Fertility episode, and the 90 days prior to conception and prior to ovulation. And the fact is that most of the chromosomal changes which determine the viability of that egg, so whether that egg is capable of creating a baby, it's healthy and viable enough, they occur in the 90 days prior to conception. So it is during these important 90 days that you can basically improve your chances of producing that healthy, viable egg. And no matter how low your egg reserves, we only need that one egg. So if we can focus on those 90 days prior and improving the quality of that egg that we release, we can greatly improve our chances of a healthy pregnancy. So whether you are 22 or you are 42, you can significantly impact the health of your eggs. And you can start today. So I'll talk about some of the factors that you can start working on, and antioxidants and key nutrients become particularly important, particularly over 40. Exposure to toxins is a huge issue in our society, and this lifelong exposure does build up as we age, because the reality is that we are surrounded by toxins in our daily lives, in the products that we use and consume. So, unless you live in a mud brick house in the mountains, this is a natural part of life, and we are all metabolically different. And so it does affect some people more than others. And for some people, these toxic exposure can have a significant impact on their fertility, and particularly over 40. So what you want to focus on is reducing your exposure as much as possible. Is really important. So easy things that you can do every day is avoid storing food in plastics, offer glass or stainless steel, particularly for hot foods that leach that plastics into your food. Buy organic produce where possible to reduce the pesticide load in your system, and avoid processed foods. Opt for whole foods as much as possible in their natural state, so less processing, less pesticides, less chemicals. And toxic exposure is not just limited to things that we ingest. What are you putting on your skin? What are you inhaling? So phthalates, which are commonly found in cosmetics and perfumes, have been found to impact fertility. So avoid wearing perfumes and opt for natural options as much as possible when it comes to your skincare and what you are putting on your skin, because that is metabolized into your bloodstream the same as what we ingest. So be aware of the cosmetics you're using and any skin creams you're using. Because, you can spend hundreds of dollars on anti-aging creams and lotions, which may or may not have an impact on the health of your skin. But they certainly do nothing for our insides. And that's really where we want to be focusing, is on getting that healthier and spending our time and investing on nourishing the insides, which will reap the benefits on the outside. So instead of all those, the expensive lotions and potions on the outside, focus on health and beauty on the inside. And of course, that will reap the benefits for fertility and also on the outside as well for skin health. If you'd like more information on the toxins, I know I just mentioned that briefly today, I have got a great podcast over at tashajennings.com.au where I interview expert Nicole Bajilsma, who's an expert in this field, and that's called How Your Home Affects Your Fertility. So if you want to know more about how to reduce your toxic exposure and what things are necessary to reduce, jump over there and have a listen to that fabulous podcast. But again, coming back to the antioxidants and the key nutrients, basically we start to need more of these as we age, but unfortunately our body starts to produce less, which is quite counterproductive. So what antioxidants are is they basically help our body deal better with these toxins from our environment, and they help reduce the impact that they have on our system. So that's why antioxidants are used a lot in these anti-aging creams and things like that, particularly nutrients like coenzyme Q10. Coenzyme Q10 is an excellent antioxidant nutrient, which plays a key role in that antioxidant capacity, but it also is involved in energy production, which of course is so important for general health, but of course the energy required to produce the healthy egg and a healthy baby. Now, our body naturally produces coenzyme Q10, but our ability to produce CoQ10 declines as we age. And this is why that they do put it back into many of these anti-aging creams and things like that. But instead of putting small, expensive amounts on your face, you are much better getting stronger amounts of CoQ10 and better amounts of CoQ10 through your diet. And my book, The Vitamins Guide, goes through great dietary sources of these key nutrients and antioxidants and goes through them at every life stage as well. So if you haven't already got one, that's a fabulous resource that I still refer to myself. But in general, when it comes to coenzyme Q10, when you're looking at supplements, I find around 100 to 300 milligrams is a great dose to actually just supplement the diet with and help to improve your antioxidant capacity in that respect and your fertility. So CoQ10 is a really good one there, and I do recommend a supplement works really well there. Selenium is another important antioxidant, but again, becomes particularly important as we age to help to mop up those free radicals and help our body better cope with any toxic exposure which has built up. So always look for a good prenatal supplement which provides selenium in there as well for extra antioxidant capacity. And again, going back to the diet, be sure to include plenty of antioxidants in your diet. A good rule of thumb when you're looking for antioxidants in your food is colour. Go for brightly coloured foods like your blueberries, your goji berries, tomatoes, spinach. They're really rich in natural antioxidants. So go for some bright colours within your diet as well. The other nutrient, which I did speak about this nutrient a couple of episodes back, so be sure to look up that Talking Fertility episode as well, and that's vitamin D. I find vitamin D, I do notice that deficiency is more prevalent as we age. I do find that in patients, the prevalency of deficiency is higher. So it is always worth getting your vitamin D levels checked, a simple check you can do at your GP. And again, look for a prenatal supplement that does have around 1,000 IU of vitamin D to supplement your levels, because as I mentioned in the last episode, it's something that we don't get a lot through our diet at all. It's mainly through sunlight, and some people are able to better metabolize it than others. So if you had any queries about vitamin D or think you may be concerned about your levels, get your levels checked at your GP and have a look at the Talking Fertility episode on vitamin D, where I go into detail about how to optimize your levels of vitamin D. Because vitamin D isn't just about bone health, as I go through. It has a great impact on fertility. It's actually known as a pro-hormone. Some people are referring to it as, rather than a nutrient, because it does such an influence over our ability to properly metabolize hormones and our hormone balance. So, yeah, jump over and have a look at that episode and get your levels checked if you are concerned. Another thing that is always important for fertility generally, and same as vitamin D, but these become more important as we age and our egg quality is declining, is hydration. You know, it's something so super simple, but is so important. Because you may notice as we age, you know, our hair, our skin, it can become drier. And this can be happening on the inside as well. So you really want to aim for around 2 litres of fresh filtered water a day. And if that sounds impossibly boring, you know, you can mix it up. Put some lime juice, put some lemon juice in there, or even go for some herbal teas or sparkling water for a change. So improved hydration will have a wonderful effect on the insides and for your fertility, and you will notice a difference in your hair and your skin as well, which is a lovely side effect. And I know I come back to that 2 litres of water, and I've had patients say to me, there is no way I can drink 2 litres of water a day because I will be rushing to the bathroom every 5 minutes. And the reality is that your body has adapted to a lower intake of water. If you don't currently drink a great deal of water, your body has adapted to that low level. And our body is quite amazing. It is able to adapt to many changes in our environment, to food deprivation, to low levels of water intake, so to dehydration. And our body still survives. But when it comes to fertility and pregnancy, we aren't just wanting to keep our body alive, which is what it's focused on when it has a lesser amount of these key things, and particularly of water. It has lesser amounts. It's just focusing on keeping us healthy. We may be able to maintain that. But we want to be healthy enough to be able to thrive and create a new life. And we really need our cells to be at optimal health to do that. So although your body has adapted, it will be able to adapt and adapt really well. And there'll be so many positive benefits to adapting to that new intake. So if you are concerned about running to the bathroom every 5 minutes, that's obviously a real concern if you are at work and things like that. Either slowly increase your intake and just have a gradually increase, maybe a cup every couple of days, increase your intake, or just, you know, put up with the bathroom breaks if you can. The other thing I do find is that if your body isn't used to getting all that water, it may not be moving it into cells effectively enough, which again, it will adapt to. But if you want to speed that up, adding some electrolyte nutrients to your water can be quite effective. So magnesium, sodium, potassium. And there are powders that you can get from your pharmacy or health food store that you can pop into your water, which can help improve that uptake into cells, because sometimes the water is just going in and sort of flushing down. It's not actually being absorbed. So that can help the absorption of the water. The other thing I find, often even just a splash of, cheap tonic water into your bottle of water, that can be enough on its own to just break down those bonds and help that water to be absorbed and metabolized more effectively. So plenty of water, and you can actually improve the uptake of that water into cells. And if the bathroom breaks are a problem, gradually increase your water intake. Your body will love you for it if you can get up to it even more than those 2 litres of water a day. So the other thing in relation to the health of our cells, I spoke about this last week a little bit in relation to weight and fertility, is a good intake of essential fatty acids. These are great for keeping our cells nice and strong and healthy and supple, and that's been shown to greatly affect our fertility. So again, coming back to, I spoke a lot about weight last week, weight loss in fertility, and this does become particularly important once we are over 40. As I discussed last week, excess weight disturbs the hypothalamic pituitary ovarian axis, which is basically the feedback loop which regulates hormone balance. And it obviously affects the reproductive system, the menstrual cycle, ovulation, these are hormonal imbalances, which can be an issue anyway, and are affected by age. So weight does compound that problem if you do have excess weight. And insulin resistance, which kind of goes hand in hand with that excess weight, and is also an issue for women with PCOS as well. And I spoke a lot about insulin resistance last week. So if you are concerned, jump on and check out that episode as well. But insulin resistance has been found to affect your risk of miscarriage. And of course, miscarriage, you are at greater risk of miscarriage over 40 anyway. So combining that with insulin resistance can lead to an increased risk of miscarriage. So getting down to a healthy weight and losing weight can really be a great positive to improving your fertility and your chances of carrying that healthy baby. And now if you are significantly overweight, getting to your target weight may seem impossible and just, too much of a big task. But research shows that even small amounts, even, 5 to 10% weight loss can have dramatic improvements in fertility. So it's all about baby steps. Obviously the closer we can get to our healthy BMI and that, fertile zone, which is found to be a BMI around 20 to 24 is that healthiest zone. But small losses can make a huge difference. So if you can reduce your weight even by 5%, that can have a great impact on your fertility. So you don't need to look at it as an overwhelming task. Focus on the baby steps that you can make, and they can have big improvements in your fertility. Another thing that is quite common and affects all of us really is stress. Stress is a huge component, especially as we start to hit our 40s. Just the stress of that biological clock that's ticking along, let alone the stress of work and just our daily lives. And stress affects us all differently. And just because you don't necessarily feel stressed, constantly, just the busyness of our daily lives can lead to a constantly raised cortisol level and stress hormone level. So that can affect our fertility. Because when we are under stress, the old fight or flight mechanism of our body is just wanting to keep ourselves healthy. It's focused on everything to keep us healthy and alive. Reproductive function gets shunted way down the list of priorities when we're under stress. Our body is wanting to focus on keeping us healthy. If we're struggling to cope with keeping us healthy in our daily life, our body's really not thinking, this would be a great time to add another life into this body here. So we really want to be reducing stress levels as much as possible, because that has a great impact on our fertility. And again, this is something I do work on a lot with patients, because stress is a natural and healthy, I think it's an important thing about healthy part of our life. We do need a certain level of stress. You don't likely need or even want to be sitting in a Zen tent all day. That's not what we mean by reducing stress. I work with patients with natural, herbal and nutritional support to help our body better function with stress and better cope with stress, the physiology of stress in the body. So working with someone like myself or your natural fertility specialist can help your body better cope with stress. It's not about just getting rid of the stress. It's how can we enable our body to better cope with this stress? And there can be a lot of herbal and nutritional support around that. And the other thing is, it's not just about how our body's reacting to the stress, it's about how our mind is reacting to the stress. It's important to address how we look at the stress and how we see stress. The basic message is might sound a bit counterproductive, but don't get stressed about being stressed. Your research shows that, if we recognize and that we actually welcome the stress, knowing that it's there for a reason, and stress is a natural part of life that keeps us alive and healthy, we can actually turn the negative impact of stress into a positive. So change your mindset around stress. Instead of worrying about your biological clock and beating yourself up on the fact that you should have had kids earlier, you shouldn't have waited so long, which is extremely counterproductive, focus on the amazing mum that you are going to be. Focus on all that love that you have for your future child, that you already have there waiting for your future child. And encompass yourself, in that love as well. I always talk about the fact that you are already nurturing and nourishing all that precious DNA that has the potential to become your future child. Let the child feel all that love and that positive energy now. Can start all that nurturing and nourishment. Because the stress is there for a reason. The stress is there because you care. Because your future child is so wanted and so loved already. It is there because you care. The stress wouldn't be there otherwise. So recognize and embrace that stress as a positive instead of fighting against it. It's not a matter of I must stress less, which can make you feel more stressed because then you beat yourself up over not being able to meditate, not being able to sit in that Zen tent. Why can't I do all these de-stressing things? And then we get more stress about the fact that we're not de-stressing. So instead of focusing on all these meditations and stresses that can make our body feel more stressed, work out ways where you can recognize the stress. Welcome and embrace the stress. And all these, obviously, meditation techniques are very valid. And if you can welcome them into your life as well, but changing your mindset can be a great first step to overcoming the stress and changing the effect that it has on our body from a negative to a positive. So I hope that's given you some great tips you can take away to start using right now to improve your fertility, even if you are heading into your 40s and beyond. So you can start improving your chances of conceiving and carrying your healthy baby. And do remember, you don't need to go it alone. I work with many individuals and couples through my Fertility for You program to overcome their specific fertility issues, whether that may be related to age or other unique factors involved. And also head over to the Conceive Baby with Tasha Jennings Facebook group and join the discussion there. I love hearing from you and I am here to help you. And again, if you want any more information on any of the topics I've covered, or if you'd like your input on what you would like me to cover in future episodes of Talking Fertility, I would love to hear from you. So please let me know what you are currently struggling with, what you would like more information on, and how I can best support you, because that's what I'm here to do. So thanks for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you next week.